Picture this. You just finished what you thought was a healthy dinner. Grilled chicken, a small portion of rice, and some vegetables. You're feeling good about your choices. But then an hour later you check your blood sugar and it's through the roof. Sound familiar? If you're over 50 and dealing with diabetes, you've probably experienced this frustrating cycle more times than you can count. You think you're eating right, but your glucose meter tells a different story. What if I told you that the secret isn't necessarily what you remove from your plate, but what you strategically add to it? Today I'm going to share with you the top 3 beans and top 3 vegetables that every diabetic over 50 should be eating regularly. These aren't exotic superfoods that cost a fortune or require special preparation. These are simple, accessible foods that you can find in any grocery store. But here's the key. It's not just about eating them, it's about how you eat them, when you eat them, and how you combine them to create what I call the anti-spike plate. By the end of this session, you'll know exactly which beans provide the most stable blood sugar response, which vegetables act as natural glucose buffers, and most importantly, how to combine them in a way that can reduce your post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 30%. We'll also cover the proper portions, the best preparation methods, and even how to use these foods strategically throughout your day to maintain more consistent energy levels. But before we dive into these specific foods, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that some days your blood sugar seems more predictable than others, even when you think you're eating the same things? There's actually a scientific reason for this, and it has everything to do with the order you eat your food, the fiber content of your meals, and something called resistant starch that most people have never heard of. I want you to think about your current relationship with beans and vegetables. Maybe you've been told to eat more vegetables, but nobody explained which ones actually help with blood sugar control. Maybe you've heard that beans are good for you, but you're confused because they seem to have a lot of carbohydrates. Or perhaps you've tried adding more of these foods to your diet, but you didn't see the blood sugar improvements you were hoping for. Here's what I've learned after working with thousands of diabetic patients over the years. The difference between foods that help stabilize your blood sugar and foods that spike it isn't always obvious. In fact, some of the foods that seem like they should be healthy can actually cause significant glucose elevations if you don't know how to use them properly. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this point. I had a patient named Robert, a 58-year-old retired teacher who came to me completely frustrated with his blood sugar management. He had been following what he thought was a perfect diabetic diet: lean proteins, whole grains, and plenty of vegetables. But his morning readings were consistently high, and he was experiencing energy crashes every afternoon. When we analyzed his food diary, I noticed something interesting. Robert was eating the right foods, but he was eating them in the wrong order and in the wrong combinations. He would start his meals with bread or rice, add his protein, and finish with vegetables. He was also choosing vegetables that, while nutritious, weren't the best choices for blood sugar control. Within 6 weeks of implementing the strategies I'm going to share with you today, Robert's average blood sugar dropped by 40 points, and he stopped experiencing those afternoon energy crashes. The key was understanding something that most people don't know. Not all carbohydrates are created equal, and not all fiber works the same way in your body. The beans and vegetables I'm going to recommend today contain specific types of fiber and compounds that actually help your body process glucose more efficiently. They work like a natural time-release mechanism for your blood sugar. Now, I want to address something important before we continue. Everything I'm sharing with you today is educational information designed to help you make informed choices about your nutrition. If you're currently taking diabetes medications, especially insulin or sulfonylureas, any significant changes to your diet should be discussed with your healthcare provider. The strategies I'm sharing can be very effective, but they may require adjustments to your medication regimen. Also, if you're taking blood thinners or have kidney disease, some of the foods we'll discuss may need to be consumed in moderation or avoided altogether. I'll point out these considerations as we go, but please remember that individual medical advice should always come from your healthcare team. Let's start by understanding why beans and certain vegetables are so powerful for blood sugar control. When you eat a meal, your body breaks down carbohydrates into glucose, which enters your bloodstream. In a healthy person, insulin efficiently moves this glucose into cells where it can be used for energy. But when you have diabetes, this process is impaired, leading to elevated blood sugar levels. The beans and vegetables I'm going to recommend work through several mechanisms to help smooth out this process. First, they contain high amounts of soluble fiber, which forms a gel-like substance in your digestive tract. This gel slows down the absorption of glucose, preventing sharp spikes in your blood sugar. Think of it like a natural time-release coating on your food. Second, these foods contain what's called resistant starch. This is a type of carbohydrate that your body can't immediately break down. Instead, it ferments in your large intestine, feeding beneficial bacteria and producing compounds that actually improve your insulin sensitivity over time. Third, many of these foods are rich in polyphenol, which are plant compounds that have been shown to improve glucose metabolism and reduce inflammation. This is particularly important for people over 50, as inflammation tends to increase with age and can worsen insulin resistance. But here's where it gets really interesting. The way you prepare and combine these foods can dramatically impact their effectiveness. For example, cooking and then cooling beans actually increases their resistant starch content. Adding acid, like vinegar or lemon juice, to your meals can slow gastric emptying and reduce blood sugar spikes. Even the order in which you eat different foods can make a significant difference. I call this approach the anti-spike plate strategy. Instead of thinking about restricting foods, we're thinking about optimizing the foods we include and how we combine them. The goal is to create meals that not only taste good but also provide steady, sustained energy without causing dramatic fluctuations in your blood sugar. Now, let me explain the criteria I used to select the top 3 beans and top 3 vegetables. First, I looked at fiber content. For beans, I wanted options that provide at least 5 grams of fiber per half cup serving. For vegetables, I was looking for at least 2 grams of fiber per serving. Higher fiber content generally means better blood sugar control. Second, I considered what's called net carbohydrates. This is the total carbohydrates minus the fiber content. Foods with lower net carbs tend to have less impact on blood sugar. But this isn't the whole story because the type of carbohydrates matters just as much as the quantity. Third, I looked at versatility and accessibility. These needed to be foods that you can find in most grocery stores, that don't require special preparation skills, and that can be incorporated into a variety of meals and cooking styles. Fourth, I considered cost-effectiveness. Managing diabetes shouldn't require expensive specialty foods. All of my recommendations are budget-friendly options that provide excellent nutritional value for the price. Finally, I looked at real-world research on blood sugar response, particularly in people over 50. As we age, our digestive efficiency can change, and foods that work well for younger people might not be as effective for older adults. Before we dive into the specific foods, I want you to think about how you currently structure your meals. Do you eat your vegetables first or do you save them for last? Do you eat your protein and carbohydrates at the same time, or do you eat them separately? These might seem like small details, but they can have a huge impact on your blood sugar response. There's actually a technique called food sequencing that can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 30% without changing anything about what you eat. It's simply about eating your foods in a specific order. We'll cover this in detail as we go through each recommendation. Now, let's start with the top 3 beans that every diabetic over 50 should include in their regular meal rotation. These aren't just random selections. Each of these beans has been specifically chosen based on their unique properties for blood sugar management. The number 1 bean on my list might surprise you because it's probably already in your pantry. It's the humble black bean and its close cousin, the pinto bean or kidney bean. I'm grouping these together because they share very similar nutritional profiles and benefits for blood sugar control. Black beans are nutritional powerhouses that provide about 8 grams of fiber and 7 grams of protein per half cup serving. But here's what makes them special for diabetics. They have one of the highest levels of resistant starch among all legumes. Remember, resistant starch acts like a prebiotic, feeding the beneficial bacteria in your gut that help improve insulin sensitivity. The deep color of black beans comes from anthocyanins, the same compounds found in blueberries and red wine. These compounds have been shown in multiple studies to improve glucose metabolism and reduce inflammation. For people over 50, this anti-inflammatory effect is particularly important because chronic inflammation can worsen insulin resistance. But here's the key with black beans. Portion size matters tremendously. The optimal serving size for most diabetics is half a cup of cooked beans per meal. If you're new to eating beans regularly, start with a quarter cup and gradually work your way up. Your digestive system needs time to adapt to the increased fiber intake. The best way to prepare black beans for optimal blood sugar control is to soak them overnight, which reduces compounds that can cause digestive discomfort and makes their nutrients more bioavailable. Cook them until they're tender but not mushy. The texture is important because you want to preserve as much of the fiber structure as possible. Here's a preparation tip that most people don't know. After you cook your beans, let them cool completely and then refrigerate them for at least a few hours before eating. This cooling process actually increases the resistant starch content by up to 40%. You can then reheat portions as needed, and the resistant starch will remain intact. When it comes to seasoning, avoid adding sugar or sweet ingredients. Instead, use savory herbs and spices like cumin, oregano, garlic, and bay leaves. These not only add flavor but many have their own blood sugar benefits. Cumin, for example, has been shown to improve glucose tolerance. Here's how I recommend incorporating black beans into your meals. Start your meal with a salad or vegetables, then have your half-cup portion of black beans along with your protein. Save any grain or starchy vegetable for last. This eating order can significantly reduce your post-meal blood sugar spike. One of my favorite black bean preparations is what I call the anti-spike bowl. Start with a base of leafy greens, add half a cup of seasoned black beans, include a palm-sized portion of lean protein like grilled chicken or fish, top with diced avocado for healthy fats, and finish with a splash of lime juice and apple cider vinegar. This combination provides steady energy for hours without causing blood sugar spikes. The second bean on my list is lentils, and these might be the most underutilized superfood for diabetics. Lentils cook faster than other legumes, they're incredibly versatile, and they have one of the most favorable impacts on blood sugar of any carbohydrate-containing food. What makes lentils special is their unique combination of soluble and insoluble fiber, plus their high protein content. A half-cup serving of cooked lentils provides about 8 grams of fiber and 9 grams of protein, with only about 15 grams of net carbohydrates. This high protein-to-carbohydrate ratio helps minimize blood sugar spikes while providing sustained energy. Red lentils are particularly good for people who are new to eating legumes because they tend to cause less digestive discomfort than other varieties. They also cook quickly, making them perfect for busy weeknight dinners. Green and brown lentils have a firmer texture and work well in salads and soups. One of the things I love about lentils is how quickly they cook compared to other beans. Most varieties are ready in 20 to 30 minutes without any soaking required. This makes them perfect for people who want to eat more legumes but don't have time for extensive meal prep. Here's a key point about lentils that many people miss. They're one of the few plant foods that provide complete protein when combined with a small amount of grain. But for blood sugar control, you want to emphasize the lentils and minimize the grain portion. A ratio of 3 parts lentils to 1 part grain works well for most diabetics. The best way to use lentils for blood sugar control is in soups and salads. Lentil soup with plenty of vegetables makes an excellent first course because it helps you feel satisfied while providing blood sugar stabilizing fiber and protein. When you eat this before your main course, it naturally reduces your intake of higher carbohydrate foods. For salads, cooled cooked lentils mixed with chopped vegetables, herbs, and a vinegar-based dressing make an excellent side dish or light meal. The key is to include plenty of non-starchy vegetables to increase the fiber content even further. Here's a preparation technique that maximizes the blood sugar benefits of lentils. Cook them with aromatic vegetables like onions, carrots, and celery. These vegetables not only add flavor but also contribute additional fiber and nutrients that support healthy blood sugar levels. Add acid at the end of cooking in the form of lemon juice or vinegar. This not only brightens the flavor but also helps slow glucose absorption. I often recommend what I call the lentil-first strategy to my diabetic patients. Start your lunch or dinner with a small cup of lentil soup or a side salad that includes a quarter cup of lentils. Wait about 10 minutes, then eat the rest of your meal. This simple timing strategy can reduce your post-meal blood sugar spike by 20 to 25%. The third bean on my list is chickpeas, also known as garbanzo beans. Chickpeas are incredibly versatile and have a unique nutritional profile that makes them excellent for blood sugar control. They're higher in protein than most other legumes and have a lower glycemic index than many grain-based foods. A half-cup serving of cooked chickpeas provides about 6 grams of fiber and 6 grams of protein, with a relatively low glycemic load. What makes chickpeas particularly interesting is their high content of a compound called alpha-amylase inhibitor, which can help slow the digestion of starches and reduce blood sugar spikes. Chickpeas are probably most famous as the main ingredient in hummus, but traditional store-bought hummus often contains added sugars and excessive amounts of oil. If you're going to eat hummus, I recommend making your own or carefully reading labels to find versions without added sugars. But chickpeas shine in many other preparations. Roasted chickpeas make an excellent snack that provides steady energy without blood sugar spikes. Chickpeas in salads add protein and fiber while helping to slow the absorption of other carbohydrates in the meal. Here's a roasted chickpea recipe that my diabetic patients love. Drain and rinse canned chickpeas, pat them dry, toss with a small amount of olive oil and spices like paprika, cumin, and garlic powder, then roast at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes until crispy. These can be eaten as a snack or used as a crunchy topping for salads and soups. When using canned chickpeas, Always rinse them thoroughly to remove excess sodium and any added sugars. Look for brands that contain only chickpeas, water, and salt. Avoid varieties with added preservatives or sweeteners. For optimal blood sugar control, I recommend eating chickpeas as part of a balanced meal rather than on their own. Pair them with non-starchy vegetables and a source of healthy fat. This combination provides the most stable blood sugar response. One of my favorite chickpea preparations is a Mediterranean-style salad with diced cucumbers, tomatoes, red onion, parsley, and a dressing made from lemon juice, olive oil, and herbs. This provides a perfect balance of fiber, protein, and healthy fats while being incredibly satisfying and flavorful. Now let's talk about preparation methods that can maximize the blood sugar benefits of all these beans. The way you prepare legumes can significantly impact their effect on your blood sugar. First, soaking. While lentils don't require soaking, black beans and chickpeas benefit greatly from an overnight soak. Soaking for 8 to 12 hours and changing the water once during this time helps reduce compounds that can cause digestive discomfort. It also makes the beans cook more evenly and can slightly reduce their carbohydrate content. Second, cooking method. Pressure cooking or slow cooking until the beans are tender but not mushy gives you the best texture while preserving the fiber structure. Overcooking breaks down too much of the beneficial fiber and can actually increase the glycemic impact of the beans. Third, cooling and reheating. As I mentioned earlier, cooking beans and then cooling them increases their resistant starch content. Cook a large batch, portion them into meal-sized containers and refrigerate or freeze. When you reheat them, the resistant starch remains intact, providing better blood sugar control than freshly cooked beans. Fourth, seasoning strategically. Add herbs and spices that have their own blood sugar benefits. Cinnamon, turmeric, garlic, and ginger all have compounds that can help improve insulin sensitivity. Avoid adding sweeteners, even natural ones like honey or maple syrup. Fifth, adding acid. A splash of vinegar or lemon juice at the end of cooking not only enhances flavor but also helps slow gastric emptying, which can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes. Apple cider vinegar is particularly effective for this purpose. Now, let me address some common concerns about beans and digestive comfort. Many people avoid beans because they're worried about gas and bloating. While it's true that increasing your fiber intake can cause some initial digestive adjustment, there are several strategies to minimize these effects. Start slowly. If you're not used to eating beans regularly, begin with small portions and gradually increase over several weeks. Your digestive system will adapt to the increased fiber intake. Choose your varieties carefully. Lentils and split peas tend to cause less gas than whole beans. Red lentils are often the most easily tolerated. Prepare them properly. Soaking, rinsing, and cooking thoroughly all help reduce the compounds that cause gas. Adding digestive spices like cumin, fennel, or ginger can also help. Eat them regularly. The more consistently you include beans in your diet, the better your digestive system adapts to them. Stay hydrated. Increased fiber intake requires adequate water consumption to work properly and comfortably. Now let's move on to the top 3 vegetables that every diabetic over 50 should be eating regularly. These vegetables were chosen not just for their low carbohydrate content, but for their specific properties that help with blood sugar control. The number 1 vegetable on my list is broccoli. Broccoli is what I call a perfect diabetic vegetable, because it combines very low net carbohydrates with extremely high fiber content and unique compounds that actually help improve glucose metabolism. 1 cup of cooked broccoli contains about 5 grams of fiber but only about 3 grams of net carbohydrates. This means that broccoli actually helps stabilize your blood sugar rather than raising it. But the benefits go far beyond just the macronutrient profile. Broccoli contains compounds called glucosinolates, which give it that slight bitter taste. These compounds have been shown in research to improve insulin sensitivity and help regulate glucose metabolism. One study found that people who ate broccoli regularly had better glucose tolerance than those who didn't. Broccoli is also rich in chromium, a trace mineral that helps your body use insulin more effectively. Many people over 50 are deficient in chromium, and this deficiency can contribute to blood sugar problems. The key with broccoli is not to overcook it. Steaming until it's bright green and still has a slight crunch preserves the most nutrients and maintains the fiber structure that's so beneficial for blood sugar control. Overcooking breaks down the glucosinolates and reduces the vegetable's effectiveness. Here's my favorite way to prepare broccoli for optimal blood sugar benefits. Steam large pieces until just tender, then immediately toss with a small amount of olive oil, lemon juice, and garlic. The combination of the fiber from the broccoli, the healthy fat from the olive oil, and the acid from the lemon creates a perfect blood sugar stabilizing side dish. I recommend eating at least 1 cup of broccoli per day, either at lunch or dinner. It's perfect as a first course because the high fiber content helps you feel satisfied while preparing your digestive system to handle any carbohydrates that come later in the meal. Broccoli is also excellent in stir-fries, but be careful about the cooking method. Quick, high-heat cooking that leaves the broccoli slightly crisp is better than slow cooking that makes it mushy. If you're making a stir-fry with protein and vegetables, cook the broccoli last and for the shortest time. Raw broccoli is also beneficial and can be even more effective for blood sugar control because all the fiber and nutrients are intact. Try adding raw broccoli florets to salads or using them as a vehicle for healthy dips like hummus or guacamole. The second vegetable on my list is kale, and I'm including other dark leafy greens like collard greens and spinach in this category. These vegetables are nutritional powerhouses that provide enormous benefits for blood sugar control with virtually no carbohydrate impact. Kale provides about 2 grams of fiber per cup with less than 1 gram of net carbohydrates. But what makes kale special for diabetics is its incredible nutrient density and its content of compounds that directly support healthy blood sugar levels. Kale is one of the best sources of vitamin K, which plays a role in glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. It's also rich in magnesium, a mineral that many diabetics are deficient in. Magnesium deficiency can worsen insulin resistance and make blood sugar control more difficult. The bitter compounds in kale, similar to those in broccoli, have been shown to stimulate insulin production and improve glucose uptake by cells. Regular consumption of bitter greens like kale can actually help improve your overall glucose metabolism over time. Here's an important note about kale and vitamin K. If you're taking blood-thinning medications like warfarin, you need to maintain consistent intake of vitamin K-rich foods rather than avoiding them entirely. Work with your healthcare provider to establish a consistent pattern of consumption rather than dramatically increasing or decreasing your intake. The best way to prepare kale for blood sugar benefits is to massage raw kale with a small amount of acid, like lemon juice or vinegar, which breaks down the tough fibers and makes it more digestible. You can then use this massaged kale as a base for salads. Sautéed kale is also excellent. Use a small amount of olive oil, add minced garlic, and cook just until the kale is wilted but still bright green. This cooking method preserves most of the nutrients while making the kale more palatable for people who find raw kale too bitter. I recommend starting each lunch and dinner with a serving of kale or other dark leafy greens. This primes your digestive system with fiber and nutrients while helping you feel satisfied before you eat higher carbohydrate foods. One of my favorite kale preparations is what I call a power salad. Start with massaged kale, add some of the beans we discussed earlier, include a protein source, top with avocado for healthy fats, and dress with olive oil and vinegar. This combination provides steady energy for hours with minimal blood sugar impact. The third vegetable on my list might surprise you, eggplant. While eggplant isn't as commonly recommended for diabetics as other vegetables, it has some unique properties that make it excellent for blood sugar control. Eggplant is what I call a sponge vegetable because of its unique cellular structure. This spongy texture comes from high amounts of soluble fiber, which forms gels in your digestive system and slows glucose absorption. 1 cup of cooked eggplant provides about 3 grams of fiber with only about 5 grams of net carbohydrates. But eggplant's real benefit for diabetics comes from compounds called nazeonin and chlorogenic acid. These antioxidants have been shown to help improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. Chlorogenic acid, in particular, can help slow the absorption of glucose from the digestive tract. The key with eggplant is in the preparation. Raw eggplant can be bitter and difficult to digest, but properly cooked eggplant becomes creamy and satisfying while retaining its blood sugar benefits. The best cooking methods for eggplant are roasting and grilling. These methods concentrate the flavors while maintaining the beneficial fiber structure. Avoid frying or breading eggplant, as this adds unnecessary carbohydrates and can negate the blood sugar benefits. Here's my favorite eggplant preparation. Cut into cubes, toss with a small amount of olive oil, herbs like oregano and basil, and roast at 400 degrees until golden and tender. This roasted eggplant can be eaten as a side dish, added to salads, or used as a base for other Mediterranean-style dishes. Eggplant is also excellent in stews and casseroles where it absorbs the flavors of other ingredients while contributing its blood sugar stabilizing properties. Just be careful about portion sizes with dishes that include other higher carbohydrate ingredients. I recommend including eggplant in your meal rotation at least twice a week. It's particularly good as part of vegetable-forward meals where it can serve as a satisfying low-carbohydrate base. Now let's talk about how to combine these beans and vegetables for maximum blood sugar control. The way you combine foods can be just as important as which foods you choose. The foundation of what I call the anti-spike plate is to fill half your plate with the vegetables we discussed. This immediately ensures that you're getting a substantial amount of fiber and nutrients while limiting the space available for higher carbohydrate foods. Next, add your portion of beans. Remember, we're talking about half a cup of cooked beans per meal. This provides protein, fiber, and complex carbohydrates in a form that won't spike your blood sugar when combined with the vegetables. The remaining quarter of your plate should be lean protein. This could be fish, poultry, lean meat, or eggs. The protein helps slow digestion and provides satiety while having minimal impact on blood sugar. If you choose to include grains or starchy vegetables, they should be a small portion and eaten last. The fiber and protein you've already consumed will help minimize their impact on your blood sugar. Here's a sample anti-spike plate. Start with a large serving of sautéed kale, add half a cup of seasoned black beans, include a palm-sized portion of grilled salmon, and if desired, finish with a small serving of quinoa or sweet potato. But the combination of foods is only part of the strategy. The order in which you eat them is equally important. This is called food sequencing, and it can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 30% without changing anything else about your meal. Here's the optimal eating order. Start with your vegetables. Spend the first 5 to 10 minutes of your meal focusing on the kale, broccoli, or eggplant on your plate. This gets fiber into your digestive system and begins the process of slowing glucose absorption. Next, eat your protein and beans together. The combination of plant and animal protein provides sustained energy while the fiber from the beans continues to moderate glucose absorption. Finally, if you're including any grains or starchy vegetables, eat these last and in small portions. By this point, your digestive system is primed with fiber and protein, which will minimize the blood sugar impact of these higher carbohydrate foods. This eating order works because it takes advantage of your body's natural digestive processes. The fiber creates a physical barrier that slows glucose absorption, while the protein stimulates hormones that help regulate blood sugar. Let me share another patient story that illustrates the power of food sequencing. Maria, a 62-year-old woman with type 2 diabetes, was struggling with post-meal blood sugar spikes despite eating what seemed like healthy meals. Her typical dinner included grilled chicken, steamed vegetables, and brown rice, but she was eating them all together in random order. When we implemented food sequencing, having her eat her vegetables first, then protein, and finally a small portion of rice, her post-meal blood sugars dropped by an average of 35 points. She didn't change what she was eating at all, just the order in which she ate it. Now let's talk about some practical strategies for implementing these foods into your daily routine. One of the biggest challenges people face is meal planning and preparation. Here are some strategies that make it easier to include these blood sugar-friendly foods in your regular rotation. Batch cooking is your friend. Spend an hour on the weekend cooking large batches of beans. Cook different varieties and portion them into meal-sized containers. This way you always have beans ready to add to meals throughout the week. Prep your vegetables in advance. Wash and chop kale, cut broccoli into florets, and cube eggplant. Store them in the refrigerator so they're ready to cook quickly during busy weekdays. Create simple combinations that you can rotate throughout the week. For example, Monday might be black beans with sautéed kale, Tuesday could be lentils with roasted eggplant, and Wednesday might be chickpeas with steamed broccoli. Keep frozen vegetables on hand as backup options. Frozen broccoli and spinach retain most of their nutritional value and can be quickly steamed or sautéed when you don't have time to prep fresh vegetables. Develop a repertoire of simple seasoning combinations that make these foods flavorful and satisfying. Mediterranean herbs like oregano and basil work well with eggplant. Cumin and paprika are excellent with beans. Garlic and lemon enhance almost all vegetables. Now let's address some common concerns and misconceptions about these foods. One concern I hear frequently is about the carbohydrate content of beans. It's true that beans contain carbohydrates, but they're packaged with so much fiber and protein that their net effect on blood sugar is minimal when eaten in appropriate portions. The key is portion control and combination with other foods. Half a cup of beans as part of a balanced meal that includes plenty of vegetables and protein will have a very different blood sugar impact than a large bowl of beans eaten alone. Another concern is about the cost of eating more vegetables. While it's true that fresh vegetables can be expensive, there are ways to include these foods in your diet without breaking your budget. Frozen vegetables are often just as nutritious as fresh and are typically much less expensive. Seasonal vegetables are usually more affordable when they're in peak season. Buying in bulk can also reduce costs. Dried beans are extremely economical and can be cooked in large batches. A bag of dried black beans costing a few dollars can provide dozens of servings. Some people worry about the time required to prepare these foods. While it's true that cooking dried beans requires some planning, the active preparation time is minimal. You can soak beans overnight and cook them in a slow cooker with very little hands-on time. Vegetables like kale and broccoli cook quickly and require minimal preparation. Eggplant can be roasted in large batches and used throughout the week in different preparations. Let me give you some specific meal ideas that incorporate these foods in delicious and satisfying ways. For breakfast, try a vegetable scramble with eggs, sautéed kale, and a small portion of black beans. This provides steady energy throughout the morning without blood sugar spikes. For lunch, consider a large salad with mixed greens including massaged kale, roasted chickpeas, grilled chicken or fish, and a vinaigrette made with olive oil and vinegar. This combination is filling, nutritious, and excellent for blood sugar control. For dinner, try roasted eggplant and broccoli with lentils and your choice of lean protein. Season everything with Mediterranean herbs and finish with lemon juice and olive oil. Snacks can include roasted chickpeas, raw vegetables with hummus made from scratch, or a small salad with leftover beans and vegetables. The key is to think of these foods not as special diabetic foods, but as the foundation of a healthy, satisfying way of eating that happens to be excellent for blood sugar control. Let's talk about monitoring and adjusting your approach. Everyone's body responds differently to foods, and what works perfectly for one person might need modification for another. This is why monitoring your blood sugar response to different foods and combinations is so important. I recommend keeping a food and blood sugar log for at least 2 weeks when you're implementing these changes. Record what you eat, in what order, and check your blood sugar before eating and 2 hours after eating. This will help you identify patterns and optimize your approach. Pay attention to portion sizes. While half a cup of beans works well for most people, you might find that you do better with slightly more or slightly less. Some people can handle larger portions of vegetables, while others might need to start smaller and build up gradually. Notice how you feel in addition to your blood sugar numbers. Sustainable blood sugar control should also make you feel good. You should have steady energy throughout the day, feel satisfied after meals, and not experience cravings for sugary foods. If you're taking diabetes medications, particularly insulin or sulfonylureas, increasing your fiber intake significantly might require medication adjustments. Work with your healthcare provider to monitor for changes in your blood sugar patterns that might indicate a need for medication modifications. Now let's address some special considerations for people over 50. As we age, our digestive efficiency can change and our nutritional needs may shift. The foods I've recommended are particularly well suited for older adults, but there are some specific considerations to keep in mind. Digestive health becomes increasingly important with age. The high fiber content of these foods is excellent for digestive health, but if you're not used to eating a lot of fiber, increase your intake gradually to avoid digestive discomfort. Hydration is crucial when increasing fiber intake. Make sure you're drinking adequate water throughout the day to help the fiber work properly and comfortably. Nutrient absorption can become less efficient with age, which makes the nutrient density of these foods even more valuable. The vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants in beans and dark leafy greens are particularly important for maintaining health as we age. Kidney function may decline with age, and people with significant kidney disease may need to moderate their intake of certain nutrients like potassium and phosphorus that are found in beans and dark leafy greens. If you have kidney disease, work with a nephrologist or renal dietitian to determine appropriate portions of these foods. Medication interactions become more complex with age. If you're taking multiple medications, be aware that some of the foods we've discussed can interact with certain drugs. For example, the high vitamin K content in kale can affect blood-thinning medications, and the fiber in beans can affect the absorption timing of some medications. Let me share some specific strategies for people over 50 who want to implement these dietary changes successfully. First, start slowly and be patient with yourself. Your taste preferences and digestive system may take time to adapt to new foods and larger amounts of fiber. Begin with small portions and gradually increase over several weeks. If you're not used to eating beans, start with a 1/4 cup serving and work up to 1/2 cup over the course of a month. If leafy greens are new to you, start by adding small amounts to familiar dishes rather than trying to eat large salads right away. Focus on foods you enjoy. If you hate the taste of kale, try spinach or collard greens instead. If black beans don't appeal to you, experiment with lentils or chickpeas. The goal is to find nutritious foods that you actually want to eat on a regular basis. Make gradual substitutions rather than dramatic changes. Instead of completely overhauling your diet overnight, Try replacing one component of your usual meals with these blood sugar-friendly options. For example, if you usually have a starch as a side dish, try replacing it with sautéed vegetables half the time. Prepare for some initial adjustment period. You might experience some changes in digestion, energy levels, or even mood as your body adapts to a higher fiber, more nutrient-dense way of eating. Most people feel significantly better within 2 to 3 weeks, but the initial transition can involve some temporary discomfort. Now let's talk about some advanced strategies that can further optimize the blood sugar benefits of these foods. These techniques are based on emerging research about how different preparation and consumption methods can enhance the beneficial effects of plant foods. Temperature manipulation is one powerful technique. As I mentioned earlier, cooling cooked beans and then reheating them increases their resistant starch content. This same principle applies to other starchy foods. If you're going to include small amounts of grains or potatoes in your meals, cooking them, cooling them completely, and then reheating them can significantly reduce their glycemic impact. Fermentation is another advanced technique. Fermented foods have enhanced nutritional profiles and can provide additional benefits for blood sugar control. You can ferment vegetables like cabbage and kale to create nutrient-dense condiments that add beneficial bacteria to your diet while providing blood sugar stabilizing properties. Sprouting beans and legumes before cooking can increase their nutritional value and make them easier to digest. Sprouted lentils and chickpeas have higher levels of certain vitamins and minerals, and the sprouting process breaks down some of the compounds that can cause digestive discomfort. Combining specific foods can create synergistic effects. For example, eating vitamin C-rich foods like bell peppers or citrus fruits with iron-rich beans enhances iron absorption. Combining healthy fats like olive oil or avocado with fat-soluble vitamins and vegetables like kale improves the absorption of vitamins A, D, E, and K. Adding specific herbs and spices can amplify the blood sugar benefits of your meals. Cinnamon has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. Turmeric contains compounds that reduce inflammation and may help with glucose metabolism. Ginger can help improve digestion and has mild blood sugar lowering effects. Apple cider vinegar deserves special mention as a powerful tool for blood sugar control. Taking 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar diluted in water before meals, or including vinegar-based dressings on your vegetables, can significantly reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes. The acetic acid in vinegar slows gastric emptying and improves insulin sensitivity. Let's discuss some practical meal planning strategies that make it easier to consistently include these foods in your diet. Successful meal planning is crucial for maintaining consistent blood sugar control, especially as we age and our schedules become more important for health management. Create a weekly template that includes these foods in different combinations. For example, designate Monday as black bean day, Tuesday as lentil day, and Wednesday as chickpea day. This takes the guesswork out of meal planning while ensuring variety. Develop what I call formula meals that you can prepare quickly and consistently. A formula might be leafy green base plus half cup of beans plus palm-sized protein plus healthy fat plus acid. You can vary the specific ingredients while maintaining the same beneficial structure. Prep ingredients in bulk on weekends. Cook large batches of different beans, wash and chop vegetables, and prepare simple dressings and seasonings. This front-loading of preparation makes it much easier to eat well during busy weekdays. Keep backup options available for days when fresh preparation isn't possible. High-quality canned beans, frozen vegetables, and pre-made salad mixes can provide the same blood sugar benefits when prepared properly. Create a rotation of simple go-to meals that you can prepare without thinking. This might include a bean and vegetable soup, a large salad with beans and protein, or a simple stir-fry with your preferred vegetables and legumes. Now let's address some common obstacles that people encounter when trying to implement these dietary changes, and practical solutions for overcoming them. Time constraints are probably the most common obstacle. The solution is to think about efficiency rather than perfection. You don't need to prepare elaborate meals to get the blood sugar benefits of these foods. Simple preparations like steamed broccoli, canned beans that have been rinsed, and bagged salad greens can provide excellent nutritional benefits with minimal time investment. Family resistance is another common challenge. If other family members aren't interested in eating more beans and vegetables, focus on additions rather than substitutions. Add beans to soups and stews that everyone enjoys. Include extra vegetables in familiar dishes. Gradually introduce new foods rather than making dramatic changes that might meet with resistance. Social eating situations can be challenging when you're trying to maintain consistent blood sugar control. The key is to plan ahead and be flexible. If you know you're going to a restaurant or social gathering, Eat a small serving of vegetables or a salad before you go. This primes your digestive system and helps you make better choices when faced with less optimal options. Budget concerns are real for many people, especially those on fixed incomes. The good news is that beans and many vegetables are among the most economical foods you can buy. Dried beans are extremely inexpensive and provide excellent nutrition per dollar spent. Seasonal vegetables, frozen vegetables, and vegetables from discount grocery stores can provide the same benefits at lower cost. Taste preferences can be a significant obstacle, especially if you're not used to eating a lot of vegetables or if you associate healthy foods with bland, unsatisfying meals. The key is to focus on preparation methods and seasonings that make these foods genuinely enjoyable to eat. Don't try to force yourself to eat foods you hate. Instead, experiment with different varieties and preparation methods until you find options you actually enjoy. Let's talk about troubleshooting common issues that people experience when implementing these dietary changes. Understanding how to adjust your approach when things aren't working perfectly is crucial for long-term success. If you're experiencing digestive discomfort from increased bean consumption, try several strategies. Start with smaller portions and increase gradually. Choose easier to digest varieties like lentils and split peas. Make sure you're drinking adequate water. Consider taking a digestive enzyme supplement with meals that include beans. Add digestive spices like ginger, cumin, and fennel to your bean preparations. If you're not seeing the blood sugar improvements you expected, examine your portion sizes and meal composition. Make sure you're actually eating the recommended portions of vegetables and beans. Check that you're following the food sequencing recommendations. Consider whether other foods in your diet might be counteracting the benefits of these blood sugar-friendly choices. If you're experiencing energy dips or hunger between meals, you might need to adjust your protein intake or meal timing. Make sure each meal includes adequate protein along with the beans and vegetables. Consider having a small snack that combines protein and fiber between meals if needed. If you're finding it difficult to maintain these changes consistently, focus on building habits gradually rather than trying to change everything at once. Pick one change, like starting each meal with a salad, and focus on that until it becomes automatic before adding additional changes. Now let's discuss how to adapt these recommendations for different eating styles and dietary preferences. The beauty of focusing on beans and vegetables is that these foods can be incorporated into almost any eating pattern. For people who prefer Mediterranean-style eating, these foods fit perfectly into that pattern. Mediterranean cuisine traditionally includes plenty of beans, leafy greens, and vegetables like eggplant. Focus on olive oil-based preparations, herbs like oregano and basil, and plenty of lemon juice and vinegar. For those who prefer Asian-inspired flavors, try preparing these foods with ginger, garlic, sesame oil, and rice vinegar. Stir-fried vegetables with small amounts of beans, seasoned with Asian spices, can provide the same blood sugar benefits with completely different flavors. For people who prefer simpler, more traditional American flavors, focus on basic preparations with familiar seasonings. Steamed vegetables with butter and herbs, bean soups with familiar vegetables like carrots and celery, and simple salads with ranch-style dressings made with Greek yogurt can provide blood sugar benefits without requiring major changes to taste preferences. Vegetarian and vegan eaters can easily implement these recommendations, as beans become an even more important source of protein. Focus on combining different types of beans and vegetables to ensure adequate protein intake and a variety of nutrients. For people following low-carb eating patterns, focus more heavily on the vegetable recommendations and use beans in smaller portions as flavor and fiber additions to meals rather than as primary components. Let me share some specific recipe ideas that demonstrate how delicious and satisfying meals based on these principles can be. These aren't complicated gourmet recipes, but simple, practical meals that provide excellent blood sugar control while tasting great. Mediterranean bean and vegetable bowl. Start with a base of massaged kale mixed with chopped cucumber and tomatoes. Add half a cup of chickpeas that have been tossed with olive oil, lemon juice, oregano, and garlic. Include a serving of grilled fish or chicken. Top with a few olives and a drizzle of olive oil and red wine vinegar. This provides steady energy for hours with minimal blood sugar impact. Hearty lentil and vegetable soup. Sauté onions, carrots, and celery in a small amount of olive oil. Add red lentils, vegetable or chicken broth, and plenty of chopped kale or spinach. Season with herbs like thyme and bay leaves. This can be made in large batches and provides a perfect first course for any meal. Asian-inspired stir-fry. Steam broccoli until just tender, then quickly stir-fry with garlic and ginger. Add cooked black beans and your choice of protein. Season with a small amount of sesame oil, rice vinegar, and low-sodium soy sauce. Serve over a small portion of brown rice if desired. Roasted vegetable and bean salad. Roast cubed eggplant and broccoli with olive oil and herbs until caramelized. Cool to room temperature and toss with cooked cannellini beans, fresh herbs, and a vinaigrette made with lemon juice and olive oil. This can be made ahead and gets better as the flavors develop. Simple bean and green scramble. Sauté chopped kale until wilted, add cooked black beans and scramble with eggs. Season with cumin, paprika and a touch of hot sauce. This makes an excellent breakfast that provides steady energy throughout the morning. These recipes demonstrate that eating for blood sugar control doesn't mean sacrificing flavor or satisfaction. In fact, many people find that they enjoy their meals more when they include plenty of vegetables and beans because these foods provide complex flavors and satisfying textures. Let's talk about dining out and social situations. One of the biggest challenges people face when trying to maintain consistent blood sugar control is navigating restaurant meals and social eating situations. Here are some strategies that can help you maintain your healthy eating patterns even when you're not controlling the food preparation. Most restaurants can accommodate requests for extra vegetables and simple preparations. Don't be afraid to ask for modifications like steamed vegetables instead of rice, or a side salad instead of French fries. Many restaurants are happy to make these substitutions. Look for restaurants that offer Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, or vegetarian options, as these cuisines typically include more of the foods we've discussed. Greek restaurants often have excellent bean and vegetable dishes. Middle Eastern restaurants typically offer hummus, tabbouleh and other bean and vegetable-based options. When eating at social gatherings, offer to bring a dish that fits your eating style. A large salad with beans, a vegetable-based soup, or roasted vegetables can provide options for you while contributing to the meal for everyone. If you know you'll be in a situation with limited healthy options, eat a small meal or substantial snack before you go. Having some vegetables or a small portion of beans before attending a social gathering can help you make better choices and avoid overeating less optimal foods. Focus on damage control rather than perfection. If you find yourself in a situation where your ideal foods aren't available, do the best you can with what's offered. Eat vegetables if they're available, choose protein over refined carbohydrates, and pay attention to portion sizes. Now let's discuss some important safety considerations and when to seek professional guidance. While the foods and strategies I've discussed are generally safe and beneficial for most people, there are some situations where professional guidance is important. If you're taking diabetes medications, particularly insulin or medications that can cause low blood sugar, significant dietary changes may require medication adjustments. The increased fiber and improved blood sugar control that result from these dietary changes can sometimes make existing medication doses too high, leading to hypoglycemia. If you have kidney disease, the potassium and phosphorus content of beans and dark leafy greens may need to be limited. Work with a nephrologist or renal dietitian to determine appropriate portions of these foods for your specific situation. If you're taking blood-thinning medications, the vitamin K content of dark leafy greens requires some attention. You don't need to avoid these nutritious foods, but you do need to maintain consistent intake rather than dramatically increasing or decreasing your consumption without medical guidance. If you have digestive conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, the high fiber content of these foods might need to be introduced more gradually or in modified forms. Work with a gastroenterologist or registered dietitian who specializes in digestive health. If you're taking medications that need to be absorbed on an empty stomach, the timing of high-fiber meals might need to be adjusted to avoid interference with medication absorption. Let's address some myths and misconceptions about beans, vegetables, and blood sugar control that might be preventing you from implementing these beneficial changes. Myth number 1. Beans are too high in carbs for diabetics. While beans do contain carbohydrates, they're packaged with so much fiber and protein that their net effect on blood sugar is minimal when eaten in appropriate portions. The fiber in beans actually helps stabilize blood sugar rather than spiking it. Myth number 2. You have to eat vegetables raw to get the benefits. While raw vegetables do retain all their nutrients, lightly cooked vegetables are often more digestible and can make certain nutrients more available for absorption. Steaming, sautéing, and roasting are all excellent preparation methods that retain most nutritional benefits. Myth number 3. Canned beans aren't as good as dried beans. While dried beans that you cook yourself are certainly excellent, properly prepared canned beans can provide the same blood sugar benefits. The key is to choose varieties without added sugars and to rinse them thoroughly before use. Myth number 4. These foods are too expensive for everyday eating. Beans and many vegetables are actually among the most economical foods you can buy when you consider their nutritional value. Dried beans are extremely inexpensive, and seasonal vegetables, frozen options, and bulk purchases can make these foods very budget-friendly. Myth number 5. You need to eat huge amounts of vegetables to see benefits. While eating plenty of vegetables is beneficial, you don't need to force down enormous salads to see blood sugar improvements. Even modest increases in vegetable intake, especially when eaten before other foods, can provide significant benefits. As we near the end of our discussion, let me give you a practical implementation plan that you can use to gradually incorporate these blood sugar-friendly foods into your routine. Trying to change everything at once is usually overwhelming and unsustainable. Instead, focus on making one change at a time and building sustainable habits. Week 1. Focus on adding 1 serving of vegetables to each meal. This might mean starting lunch and dinner with a small salad, adding spinach to your morning eggs, or including steamed broccoli as a side dish. Don't worry about perfect food sequencing yet, just focus on increasing your vegetable intake. Week 2. Begin implementing food sequencing. Start each meal with your vegetables even if it's just a few bites. Pay attention to how this affects your hunger and satisfaction levels. You might notice that you naturally eat smaller portions of other foods when you start with vegetables. Week 3. Add beans to your routine. Start with small portions, maybe a quarter cup, and gradually increase. Try different varieties to find ones you enjoy. Focus on simple preparations initially, like adding rinsed canned beans to salads or soups. Week 4. Work on optimizing your meal composition. Aim for the half-plate vegetables, quarter cup to half-cup beans, palm-sized protein structure we discussed. Begin paying attention to portion sizes and how different combinations affect your blood sugar and energy levels. Week 5 and beyond. Continue refining your approach based on your blood sugar responses and personal preferences. Experiment with different preparation methods, seasonings, and combinations. Begin batch cooking and meal prep strategies to make this way of eating more convenient. Throughout this process, keep a simple food and blood sugar log. Note what you eat, when you eat it, and your blood sugar readings before meals and 2 hours after meals. This will help you identify which foods and combinations work best for your individual metabolism. Remember that everyone's response to food is slightly different. What works perfectly for one person might need modification for another. The key is to use these recommendations as a starting point and then adjust based on your individual responses and preferences. Also remember that perfect is the enemy of good. You don't need to eat perfectly every single meal to see significant improvements in your blood sugar control. Consistency over time is more important than perfection in any individual meal. Let me leave you with some final thoughts and encouragement. Managing blood sugar effectively, especially as we age, requires a long-term perspective and a willingness to make gradual, sustainable changes rather than dramatic short-term interventions. The foods we've discussed today, black beans, lentils, chickpeas, broccoli, kale, and eggplant, are not exotic superfoods or expensive specialty items. They're simple, accessible foods that have been nourishing people for thousands of years. What's new is our understanding of how to use them strategically for blood sugar control. These foods work not through any single magical property, but through a combination of fiber, protein, beneficial plant compounds, and low glycemic impact. When you combine them properly and eat them in the right sequence, they create a synergistic effect that can significantly improve your blood sugar stability. The strategies we've discussed today can provide benefits beyond just blood sugar control. Many people find that eating this way improves their energy levels, reduces cravings for sugary foods, supports healthy digestion, and contributes to better overall health as they age. However, remember that nutrition is just one component of diabetes management. Regular physical activity, stress management, adequate sleep, and appropriate medical care are all important parts of a comprehensive approach to health. If you're feeling overwhelmed by all the information we've covered today, start small. Pick 1 or 2 changes that seem most manageable for your current situation and lifestyle. Build success with small changes before adding more complex strategies. Also remember that this is a learning process. Your understanding of how your body responds to different foods will improve over time as you pay attention to your blood sugar patterns and how you feel after different meals. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Even modest improvements in your diet can provide significant benefits for blood sugar control and overall health. Every meal is a new opportunity to make choices that support your health goals. The goal isn't to follow a rigid, restrictive diet, but to develop a flexible, enjoyable way of eating that happens to provide excellent blood sugar control. The foods and strategies we've discussed today can form the foundation of satisfying, flavorful meals that you'll actually want to eat consistently over time. I encourage you to approach these changes with curiosity and patience. Pay attention to how different foods make you feel, not just what they do to your blood sugar numbers. Notice which preparations and combinations you enjoy most. Use this information to gradually build a personalized approach that works for your individual preferences and lifestyle. Finally, don't hesitate to seek support when you need it. Whether that's working with a registered dietitian, joining a diabetes support group, or simply sharing your goals with family and friends, having support can make a significant difference in your long-term success. The journey to better blood sugar control is exactly that, a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, celebrate small victories, and remember that every positive change you make is contributing to better health and more stable energy as you age. Thank you for spending this time learning about these powerful, accessible tools for blood sugar control. I hope you'll experiment with these foods and strategies and discover how much better you can feel when you eat in a way that truly supports your body's needs. Remember, managing diabetes well is one of the best investments you can make in your future health and quality of life. The foods and strategies we've discussed today can be powerful allies in that effort, providing you with the tools you need to maintain stable blood sugar, consistent energy, and better overall health for years to come.